Welcome back to BluOcean Talks. Today I'm here with Sebastian Wong. Sebastian, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks, Ron, for inviting me on this podcast.
Well, I've known you for a few years now, and I'm really excited to talk to you. I know our listeners will be interested to hear what you have to say. But let me just give you a brief introduction because I know you're so humble. Sebastian Wong is the senior manager of security, safety, and operational risk at the Singapore American School, and you're also very active in ASISS, right?
Yep, that's
Sorry.
correct.
And that is also a sort of a regional club for international schools or security for international schools. I'm sure we'll talk about that. But tell me, before we start this, how did you get into security?
Thank you, Ron, for the very humbling introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Sebastian. That's a good question. Like, how did I get into security? My background actually is more on the student travel piece. So after I was a career soldier for 3 years. I was a regular in the Singapore Armed Forces, and I was super passionate about outdoor education. So I spent my initial years working in the outdoor. I was in Outward Bound, Australia, and I think I honed my skill in risk management related to student travel. So I had a chance upon before at the American school. I was working in another international school that was largely focused on the student travel, and the
Right.
initial piece at SAS was to oversee the travel risk management. So the first year, it was focusing on travel risk management, and back then the director of facilities was saying, "Hey, since you're doing a good job over here, why not you roll into the health and safety?" And then that was like 12 years ago. So from the travel safety to health and safety to coming on board to the security piece.
Well, that's great, it's interesting because schools have a unique kind of security profile and security um, needs, right? They're different from like corporate or other type of facilities, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think I reflect back, when you're looking at the security, even in corporates and in army camps, uh, one of the biggest thing is just that the school environment is so diverse, right? So when you obviously being a K-12 school, your age group it's already different, right? From as young as 3 4 years old to
Right.
18 years old. So what that means as well for the diverse community, it also means they will be coming with parents, with community, with helper, with grandparents. So how be to be hard, but at the same time be welcoming. I think that's one of
Right.
the key difference in the school versus the corporate environment.
Right. And we'll talk about that in detail. But first, tell us, or maybe for the listeners, just very briefly about SAS, the Singapore American School, and the size and everything, and the kind of maybe some of the challenges at a high level, of course,
Yeah,
that you're kind of
yeah.
dealing with.
I would say that 12 years here, like definitely, Singapore American School. It's the largest on island campus with the highest number of student population. So we have close to about 4,000 student population, including staff and faculty. Almost every day there is close to about 5,000 footfall. So that it's one of the biggest challenge I think in terms of the
Right.
traffic management. That's one. The other big piece is I mean, just like all international schools where we do the overseas travel, we do that as well, but we do it in a very different format. Um, Basically, 1 week, the whole high school or the whole middle school travel. So obviously, you have a very intense period of multiple trips going heading out.
Right. I was thinking about that, and in full disclosure, my daughter goes to the Singapore American School, and as a parent, I've been exposed to Sebastian's team and how he manages security, and I'm very impressed and feel very lucky to have him on a team, to be honest. But I do know as a parent, of course, that this annual school trip
Mm.
where I don't know, was it 2,000 kids or so are traveling to
Yeah.
what 40 different destinations around the world or so. that must be one of the larger events on your calendar. I would assume.
100%. I think on the travel portion, especially at the high school, that it's one of the pinnacle. And it's just obviously for me, my portfolio over there is to support the risk management and more importantly on the kind of like the duty manager and the crisis management when it happened on the week.
Mm,
There is a backend team, with the coordinator, with the admin. Yeah, it's a big team effort, and I would say one of the big challenge in that week. Right, I always tell everyone it's the time zone. We have groups from New Zealand, Australia, so that's what +7, all the way to Spain, Europe countries, so -7. So the
mm.
time zone of things, it's crazy. It's a sleepless
Uh,
week for sure.
no, no, good on you, man. And I know, and again, I've been exposed to that, so I know I can appreciate all the effort that goes into it in the background. Maybe regular parents don't see all that in the background, but everything from the preparation and the due diligence you do with the partners and in country and the teachers and everything. So there's a lot going on there, and that's important component of I think what you're trying to achieve here. Where on one hand, giving the best experience to the students,
Mhm.
where they can feel it being in an open environment, including while they're traveling, but also being as safe and secure as possible.
Yeah, yeah. I think interesting, like you say. I know from the risk perspective. Obviously, when you talk about risk management, it's always your livelihood. But in the outdoor, right, so that's where my background comes in, right? There's also a risk benefit. So the core belief about experiential learning, like stepping out of your comfort zone, that's one of the reason why the schools are doing this. But to your point, yeah, as safe as necessary, because if it's as safe as possible, then
Right.
we're just not gonna do it. But yeah, the due diligence it's have to be done with different vendors in different country. Yeah.
Right. That's great. So tell me, you mentioned this. You have this what you call hard security but soft approach.
Mm.
Tell me that. I think that's wonderful, by the way, and it kind of encompasses the one of the unique challenges I think you're dealing with in a open international school environment where you want to have that quote unquote hard security, but in a very soft approach. So maybe
Yeah.
can you dive into that
Yeah.
a little bit?
So I remember when a few years back, when I get more and more acquainted with security work. And back then, people were talking about physical security, right? The initial years of ASISS in that conference, we talk about guards, we talk about fences, CCTV, and how to build your defense in layer, right? And like defense in depth,
Mm,
right? You have your perimeter, second one. Then after a while, as I really get more into this, it's like you know what? It's just not just about that. Yes, at the front, we will need to make sure there is hard parameters to deny any kind of perpetrators and stuff. But the soft approach, to me, it's not the quote unquote soft. Like as I'm thinking about safety, security, and safeguarding, right?
mm,
That's S. O, it's operations. I think in the school operations, it's so diverse, ranging
mm,
from busing to school trips to food to timing. F is facility management, and then T is technology. I talk more as we go, but I mean this just
mm,
to get everyone. This is what I mean by the soft approach framework. Um, I think safeguarding. We all know that in international schools, safeguarding it's always high up at the front, and it overlaps. I think a lot of time it overlaps, um, because we are not just safeguarding the property, but we are talking about visitor management. When people are coming in, they are being
mm,
verified. There's these things. Yes, it's a live school. There are students around. We have to remind them about simple things like no photo taking policy of students.
mm,
If you need to
mm.
take the place, yes, you have to be mindful about that. So the safeguarding is literally the first and foremost over there. We also have a lot of contractors coming in on the daily basis. We have
Right.
term contractors who are doing our our landscape, our food services, our our cleaning services. So there's a constant reminder and telling them, hey, what is the expectation of safeguarding? What do you do? How do you approach if a student is in need? We also want to make sure that they can look after the student when needed, but within the boundaries, right? So that's on the whole piece about safety, security, and safeguarding in one. Um,
And I know this bit might be a little bit direct kind of question, but do you feel you get like the full support from the faculty and the leadership and everything? I'm like,
so
and is there,
yeah,
do you have to explain a lot to them? I'm assuming they do, of course, it's important to them as well, but sometimes security, as security managers or security leadership, it's on us as well to educate, the other, our colleagues as well, and help them see everything. Cause sometimes they don't always see everything, but it's our jobs to kind of consider
mm,
all those risks and see how do we mitigate those.
yeah, 100%. And I think it's also being like how my boss is saying it's important to put security as a strategic, right? Like we always talk about
Mm,
like security manager is not just what you call it. We always talk about ROI and is it the cost? I think in a way that as long as we are able to embed in the different facade of the leadership meetings, giving your subject matter view, and I think people will really appreciate and build on that trust and that rapport. 100%, I would say the time where really the whole security and risk really stepped up was obviously back in 2020, right? If everybody remember COVID,
mm.
then yeah, day in day out there is all the crisis management meeting. Yeah, to your point, definitely, I think after a while, the school will understand that, but I think it is important that the security function sits in the leadership role, at
Mm,
least to give the subject matter opinion and the
mm.
advice.
Of course, of course. Do you also do any like awareness programs? I'm assuming for the teachers and faculty, but what about the students? Is there any kind of
Mm.
awareness around like helping students become aware of? Because
Yeah,
I'm assuming they need to be part of the solution,
yeah.
right? Or ideally,
Actually, that's super timely. I was just clearing up some emails, and obviously, it's just talking about what we can do for safety education better.
Mm,
Just simple things like even coming onto campus. So, to the listener out there, and even to Ron, in
right.
the morning, I talk about 5,000 people coming on the campus. It is organized chaos per se, just like any other school. I would say so. Um, but yeah, how do we? A lot of time, even if we do a lot of enforcement, or how do we actually educate and empower? I think staff will be empowered to tell students, in terms of safety crossings, but
Mm,
education is key as well. This is one area we have talked about it, but I don't think I've been able to really go into to do a deep dive on that. I think that would be amazing if we. I know schools, we talk about life skills, and currently, I think the only education from the security perspective, it's a very typical lockdown drills, your
mm,
your
mm,
evacuation and your lightning risk, environmental
mm.
risk, but there's a lot of many nuggets that that the
Right.
safety and security can embed into.
Well, I'll share here. My daughter had a little run-in with security last year, and part of her issue is that she had to do like a PowerPoint about security. And I'm saying this because I don't think she appreciated it as much. And after she kind of was exposed to that and had to think it through, she was then able to better appreciate security and what it means and the challenges and all that. So that was a great learning experience
Mm.
for her. And again, security is one of those things that when nothing happens,
Mm.
you don't hear about it, but when something happens, it's a big deal. And in today's environment, everybody has to be part of that. Tell me, does so you mentioned technology briefly, but how much is technology really important
Yeah.
in in school security?
So I think firstly, uh, gone are the days where we are so focused on. Well, let's put it this way. I think for the security department, we handle quite a lot of technology piece, right? So granted your access control, your CCTV, and moving forward, there's more and more of all this integrated building management system.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a trend. We're also trying to work closely with obviously the maintenance team that's in charge of the BMS, because I think these are all important sensor. Secondly, also we talk about the data security side, right? We are a strong user of relatively sensitive information, and we just have to be mindful. Yes, in the control room, I think that's a more controlled environment. But when I think about it, I have guards who is at the security outpost, holding iPads and having to, once in a while manage like verifying information. Just
Mm,
making sure that they're aware that there's also, potentially any breach, any weak point will be your guard force at the site.
mm,
And then, of course, right now with the push of AI, I can see that we even in a team that they are using it. But I think we're just really scratching the surface over here.
mm,
Um, I think in terms of preparing procedure, everything it's quicker, for sure. It's neater, it's sharper, But when we try to explore technology integration with CCTV, AI functions and things like that. While the key features are there, but I'm not too sure if I don't feel personally that we are really harnessing
mm,
the strength of it. Um, yeah, as I was doing some investigation just now, it still requires the physical person to review it, and at the same time for some judgment, right? Because yeah,
of
AI
course.
can cover everything. Then from the security perspective, we give all the facts, and then after that, we work with the dean and stuff like that, because there could be other things that the
Mm,
camera doesn't pick up. Yeah.
right. Right. I wonder sometimes are I try to envision the future. Like, do you see any trends or anything that or how do you think that might evolve in the future,
Mm.
if at all?
Yeah, I think number one, everybody always talk about this integrated command system.
Mm,
I think that's the goal, the dream. Everybody wants to build it, but to me, I feel that even though if you build it like so what, right? Like now
mm,
you build this, like what are we trying to achieve? That's number one. I think that's one trend everybody is trying to look for. Uh, Potentially, as we look into this integrated command system, it's also the fact of having a man unmanned combi.
mm,
Maybe, with the rise, the campus is a living campus. Every hour of the day it change. Yes, in the daytime, you have 11 guards example, then the nighttime you
right.
suddenly scale down to 4. So how
Mm,
can we have a man unmanned version of that, so that we can maintain the security level, postulate different at different time of the day.
right.
Yeah, so I think man on man is definitely one trend for security, having an integrated system, because it's not just about security, but it's also about sensor, with the BMS together, like a facility security operations command center. And um, and uh, and and with AI, with technology in that piece, I think it's just going to make even your ground level officer at a higher value add.
Right.
I could see that they have more opportunity to
Right.
to be able to be involved in investigation and stuff like that,
Mm,
because the basic AI stuff would help them. Like usually they might struggle with crafting a report or things like that, but
mm.
I think that will be the efficiency of man combining with AI.
No, that's a great point. In the news, a lot you also hear about how AI might take away jobs, but
Mm,
I don't necessarily agree with that because it might make you provide more value,
mm,
and in your case, definitely so. But I'm also hearing you're saying that although it might be nice to have a nice fancy control center, but at the end of the day, it really is about the people and
yeah,
the people you have on your team and how you manage the security, because technology itself is only a component of the solution. It's
Yeah.
not the whole solution, of course.
Yeah, exactly. If it's the whole solution, it's almost like bots, right? They're just running on the back end and doing everything. Uh, and what you say is true. The human piece behind it's important. Firstly, the person must understand and appreciate situational awareness. I think they need to
Right.
have some form of
Mm.
security, safety awareness. And then the second thing is also, actually be keen to work with technology. Yeah, I'm sure many years ago in the previous iteration of security officer, you would have like, oh, this is too hard for me to get into Word documents and things like that. But
Mm.
especially if you want to work in the school context, that can't be the case because you're dealing with cards, with iPads, with laptop, with screens,
Right.
yeah, with CCTV.
I would add to that that they also need to be kind of know how to deal with humans and know how to be
Mm,
and care as well.
yeah, like multicultural, right? Understanding different demographic is super providing care and at the same time dealing with situation in a very sensitive, confidential, and professional manner as well for
Right.
for for the guards. Yeah, it's not easy. I think after I say everything, I was like, oh yeah.
No, look, again, so far I only have good things to say when I visit the campus. Let's switch gear a little bit. Tell us a little bit about ASISS. So that stands for Asian Schools Institute for Safety and Security. You're one of the leaders there. What's your formal role there, and maybe tell us a little bit about that.
So about 10 years ago, yeah, this is about 10 years because exactly 10 years actually. 2026, we're celebrating our 10th anniversary. So what happened? My boss was saying that, hey, in the international school, there's always conferences for the business manager, there's conferences for the faculty leader. There is a growing conference for technology coordinator, basically talking about the Apple. So, and he see that there was a gap. So, our CFO at the time I say, I think there's a gap over here. I think it's important that with this safety and security lens. Um, so it was probably during the spring, so March of 2016, SCS and ISB International School Beijing. We say, hey, why not we do kind of just a simple sharing conference, see who is interested to come together. So 2016 was our first run in Singapore, and the whole idea was to bring in the international school in the region, people who is in my role, health, safety, security, operational, facility management, together and share. This is one of the most amazing community that I'm part of. Everybody we have the similar mindset, right? We think on our feet, we're flexible, but there's some structure and the group just almost immediately say, "Hey, Seb, this is so important." So the first year, we straight away established the steering committee. So initially, because of the American school, we used the ISIS school. So there is 6 American school in the region who
Mm.
is always on sports exchange, so across the border, International School Kuala Lumpur, International School Bangkok in Thailand, ISM International School Manila, and then we have Taipei American School, and then the steering committee just grew to a few more schools in the region. So what we really focused on was all the areas that's under the operational side, and over the years, our topic also have grown. Right, I think everybody face the same challenges. Everybody have international school, different domains. Some schools in the region has unique challenges such as environmental hazards, typhoon. Singapore is very very fortunate, but we're very open to share from that. So there is, we have a friendly competition, but the good thing is about how to make the school safer for the students, right? That's where the friendly competition is coming from.
No, it's an amazing event. I had the pleasure of attending a few, and it really has evolved
Yeah.
a lot since those early days. And today, what do you get now? A hundred or so, or almost 200 people at an event from a lot of the schools around the region,
Yeah.
right? You have
And,
guest speakers coming in, and you have sponsors. So it is a very useful event, and I would agree with you. It is. You learn a lot from it. You meet interesting people. You learn from each other, and every year you do it in
yeah.
different locations. And each location, a local one of the schools there is the host,
It's a
kind of the
host. Yeah.
host organization, which gives it even more of a interesting kind of feeling to it. So it's a wonderful thing.
What you say is true. That was amazing because people say, hey, since we are working in the school, we should actually see how the school operates. And the whole school will definitely take pride to make sure that people feel welcome. We're very fortunate over the last 10 years as well. We have schools that come on board, and we are very, very fortunate to have sponsors like BluOcean and many
Yeah.
other great partners that we have worked with. And these are all trusted partners that the school kind of nominates because we have already been working with them.
I always liked seeing when I think it's on the first day or something you arrive, like the host school does a tour of the school and also the security elements, but everything else. And I can imagine they're a little bit nervous, but they're also, you're right. They're proud. And you see
Yeah,
even the security guards, cause they know what's going on, and, and they're all at their best, but it really is a fun and, it's an amazing experience. I always love it.
thank you. Thanks for always being a strong supporter of ASIS as well.
Where is it this year? It's in Singapore, isn't it?
This year is in Singapore, so definitely one day had to be at SAS, that's for sure, because
Well, you have the new campus too. The new middle school campus
yeah,
is going to be a
the new
highlight.
the new elementary school, the new elementary school. Yeah, the new elementary school. So the tour will need to be longer than the usual 1 hour. It's massive. And then the other school we're still finalizing.
Just a final note. At the very end of the cast with Sebastian, we had some technical difficulties. I just wanted to thank Sebastian for his insights and being on the cast today. We'll definitely get him on the future one more time. If you're interested in reaching out to Sebastian in any form or hearing more about ASISS and how he's involved in school security in the region, we will have his contact information, other notes in the show notes. Again, thank you to Sebastian. It was a wonderful conversation, and I hope to have him on the cast one more time very soon. Thank you again.